A to the K.
To the K.
To the K. Coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Tony Khan reveals 2 top stars sidelined with concussions.
Vince McMahon reportedly pays 4 women millions in hush money.
Netflix reportedly dropped the upcoming Vince McMahon docuseries.
Curtis Axel and Ariya Daivari relieved of WWE producer duties. Professional.
Natalya no-sells Liv Morgan's finish at a WWE live event and walks out in a big huff.
Jordynne Grace apologises for controversial Benoit comments.
Killer Kross reveals that himself and Scarlett Bordeaux will not be going back to Impact Wrestling ever.
Mick Foley signs a new Legends contract with WWE.
And Paul Wight himself has confirmed that he will be returning to the ring as Captain Insano.
I fucking love it. Captain Insano shows no mercy.
He doesn't. And when's all that coming up?
It's all coming up right fucking now.
Yes, it is. And we're going to.
You know what, Carl? Can I just commend before we kick off with fucking anything? Right, this is classic news anchoring. What you've done here. You know when you start out with the serious shit, right, and then you get lighter as the thing goes on, and you end up with something just silly and fun. That's how. Like, there's been so many times we've ended it on like, and someone was murdered. It's like, we shouldn't have ended like that, really. And that hasn't happened, by the way. I just couldn't think of anything serious.
I mean, we did have a really poor taste running joke about a certain former tag team wrestler with dead bodies, but
anyway. Killer guy. But yeah, I love the way it's set up because he's just like, and here's the puff piece at the end. It's boss.
Well, yeah, we got to do what we got to do. But unfortunately, that means we have to start with some of the somber news, which is
yes, we are.
So Tony Khan has been speaking to the New York Post this past week, and he gave an injury update on a number of top stars who are currently out with injury, and 2 of them pretty top stars who are reportedly sidelined with concussions. Now, the first one being Bryan Danielson, who Tony has said is doing much better, saying, "I talk to him a few times a week. I spoke to him right before Road Rager, and Bryan was like, I feel fucking great. I'm ready to come back. I'm going to fight Zack Sabre, and we're going to go to Blood and Guts. Let's fucking go, man." Then he talked to him 8 days before the pay-per-view, and he wasn't doing as well. So immediately Tony was like, "You're not wrestling. If you're not feeling great 8 days out, I don't care if you have 7 straight days. I'm shutting you down until further notice." And he's revealed that he's currently got some scans coming up just to kind of check him out and stuff like that. And, obviously we know that Bryan has suffered with concussions in the past and was essentially one of the main reasons that kind of put a halt to his wrestling career while he was at WWE. So hopefully he can make a speedy recovery from them and we get to see him again. And the other one being Adam Cole. Now, he does have a partial muscle tear, but he also is suffering with concussion. Now, Khan said that they put him on a no contact between Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door. We saw him on commentary and things like that, and he had been cleared to wrestle. So now he's going to basically take that time off for him and say that, he's already taken some time and he's going to take some more time to make sure he's right and wouldn't want him to wrestle until he's feeling 100%. He was feeling 100% going into Forbidden Door, but that's just how unpredictable these things are. So, yeah, sounds like still sort of feeling the repercussions of the concussions, unfortunately. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
But at least the thing we can be happy with is that they're taking it seriously.
Well, exactly.
I think it's better to be responsible and cautious than, just care about the views and getting shit done. You know what I mean? Like, I would sooner, like say, they give a bit of extra time and they make sure that they're 100%.
Well, that's it. I think, AEW have taken a lot of flack in the past around, being unsafe and things like that. If you look back to the Sammy and Matt Hardy stuff from way back when, caused a lot of flack. Yeah. But you can clearly see that Tony's made massive changes to the cards and things to basically make sure that the talent is protected. So, yeah, at the end of the day, we can only hope that they do recover. It's not massively serious, and we do get to see them again because, like that, Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. Match would have been absolute fire. So maybe we get to see it in the future one day.
Hopefully we do get to revisit that, yeah. So, Carl, the next one, unfortunately, is another fairly difficult topic, let's say. And I think last we talked about this was the initial allegations. So this is an update on the Vince McMahon situation, let's call it. So you might recall the Wall Street Journal actually published an article, let's say, mentioning the first sexual allegation. Now, there's been, since that, there's been a further expose where they've pointed out that the actual total number of women so far that have been paid hush money is actually 4. And that the amount of hush money reaches 12 million, Carl. Now, this actually includes a former paralegal. I think this was the initial one where the suggestions about John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon having sexual relations with her. But we've got also a former women's wrestler amongst these other 4 names, and there seems to be a lot of the concentration seems to be on the wrestler situation. Not that the others are invalidated in any way, but that seems to be the biggest payout and so on. And the wrestler has alleged that McMahon coerced her into giving him oral sex, and that she was demoted and released from the company in 2005 after refusing further sexual encounters. And again, apparently her silence was bought for a payout of 7.5 million. So there are further details. If you want to read the actual Wall Street Journal expose, you can get further detail on obviously the payouts, the situation, etc. But it's the heat's turning up a little bit on Vince here, and you got to ask, what, like, I didn't think we'd ever see the day, but it looks like I hate to speculate, Carl, but I'm gonna have to. He's took a step back. Do you think you can ever see him taking a step back? Hang on, that doesn't work. Do you think we can ever see him coming back? Because it just seems to be one thing mounting up after another, and sadly, like, no, I say sadly, like, it's difficult this, because if everything's true, then he's a horrible bastard and he'll get what he deserves. But you say sadly because, like, we've grown up with the McMahons running WWE, so it is kind of strange, isn't it, to find out all of this horrible stuff that it's piling up to the point that you go, well, are they all lying? Seems rather unlikely, let's be honest. And you go, well, what's going to happen here now? Is it surely he can't come back and start running? He's been kind of flippant in the past. I think people have reported him being like, fuck him and stuff like that, backstage. But we're getting to a point you can't be flippant about it. He's going to have to deal with these things, and then, like, are the fans, are the audience going to accept him back after, like, it's all sort of said and done, assuming he has the option to?
So for me, I genuinely think we probably will see him back, honestly. So if you take Ric Flair, for example, now he was removed from the opening, wasn't he? The WWE Signature opening. His Woo was taken out of it and stuff like that. That's been added back in now.
Because Vince has been called out.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like until the next big thing, next big controversy comes up. Like, look at Hulk Hogan when he was, the stuff came out around, like, racist comments he made and things like that. That was it. He was forgotten about by WWE and, never to be mentioned. All of a sudden, a couple of years later, he's back hosting WrestleMania with Titus O'Neil, right? And then you've got, obviously, Ric Flair, who gets some allegations and things, and featuring the Dark Side of the Ring, goes away for a bit, and then they bring him back. So, genuinely, I don't think this will be the end of Vince McMahon. I mean, we are going to debate this in not really a debate, but we're going to discuss it in a what-if segment about Vince, in terms of what if he leaves. But I think it's a tough one, because, don't get me wrong, it's very, very seedy what he's done. Is it illegal what he's done?
Well, coercion is, yeah.
Well, I mean, essentially, he's paid someone off, and they've accepted that money for stuff that basically 2 consenting adults have done. So it's not. But
this is the thing, though. This is where it'll be a difficult one to fight. But as I understand it, if he was in a position of power and they felt coerced, they can still call it sexual assault, because they weren't a willing participant; they were forced upon, essentially.
I mean, if that's
And
the
that
case,
will be
then
the devil will
absolutely.
be in the detail in that sense, wasn't it? He's going to
Well,
argue
exactly.
that they were consenting, and they're going to argue that they weren't. They were
Yeah.
put in that position. I mean, the wrestler being the strongest example there, that, you know, when she did refuse, there were consequences. So he proved that he was using his position of power to take advantage, and she felt that she had no other choice. That's probably going to be the strongest one when it comes to an argument in court, and I don't know how it's going to go. But
it's
I get what you're saying. The defense will be that it was consenting. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not defending his actions, but what I'm basically trying to say is, in terms of this investigation,
No, I know what you're saying. Like,
it's
in a legal sense, yeah.
I don't know if he's really done anything massively illegal to the point that he had. If he's spent it out of his own money and hasn't used WWE's money to keep as this hush money, for example, then I don't know whether anything would count as illegal.
You see, this is the crazy thing, like, because the issue initially was like the board of directors were suggesting that he was using WWE money and obviously investor money to pay them off, and then that become like an issue in that legal sense as well. But it's like this sort of thing. Like I'm no big time city lawyer, Carl, but like you do something horrendous that is like debatably assault, and then they sign a non-disclosure. Like, I don't understand the whole non-disclosure element when you do something like that. So they'll go and be like, he assaulted me, and he's like, hey, you agreed not to tell anyone. Like, that's not really the bigger issue, is it? You know what I mean? I don't understand what weight a non-disclosure has. Like, you're really going to come at them for that?
Well, exactly. It's one of them. I think you said it best. Like, the devil's in the details of it all, really, isn't it? So we'll see what, ultimately what he is found guilty of and the severity of that, and then we can make a conclusion, and that will ultimately determine whether he has to go. But what I do think is absolutely deplorable. And if she's given them consent to say this, then that's cool. But the fact that they've named, it was a women's wrestler who was released in 2005 or whatever it was, that really narrows it down.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because they were demoted and then released from the company in 2005.
Right.
It really helps narrow it down.
So, there's already been wild speculation on who this person may be, and I believe that's very unwelcome speculation.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't think that ever should have been revealed in the first place. So it's almost like, at the Wall Street, was it the Wall Street or the New York Post? Can't remember who it was.
Wall Street Journal did the expose, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, should the Wall Street Journal be, someone be coming after them for reveals? So it all gets very, very messy. At the end of the day,
do you come after the journal, or do you come after the person who's provided that information? Because non-disclosures were signed. Someone's obviously give information out about Vince. So is it their source who's in the wrong, or them for publishing it?
Who knows? But yeah, I can only hope.
All gets very messy in detail, but at the end of the day, he's a bad man.
I've personally seen people commenting on, this, who we kind of are alluding to it potentially being, essentially. I've seen people commenting on their social medias on family pictures that they have, saying, "Is it you?" and stuff like that. On the personal account, man. So I think it's just disgusting, and people who do stuff like that are disgusting. So just let it all happen, play out, reach the conclusion, and then just take it from there. It's
That's the thing, because the court of public opinion is one thing, but like you say, you got to let you got to let it go through the system, haven't you? Because you never know, you could accidentally cause more problems by being outspoken in social media initially. Everything's gonna hopefully come out in the wash at the end of the day, and then no doubt people will have their opinions or not. I mean, I've seen so many people defending Vince McMahon, and it's like, not even defending him from a point of view. You get many people like going, nothing's been proven, etc. And you go, fair enough, they're like, it doesn't really need stating, but that is valid, nothing's been proven. But you get people who like literally defending Vince, like, wrestling would be nothing without him. It's like, yeah, but if he is like as bad as they're saying, maybe we take a chance that it could be something without him, Yeah. That's like, you don't do it like, I was going to say you don't do it with other media, but you kind of do, and I'm not going to go into that. There are many an artist and person over the years who, fuck it, our politicians in this country have had similar bloody scandals, and they're still in power, so yeah, it happens all the fucking time, let's be honest.
Put it this way, it sounds very weird to say as we're doing a news segment, but very much today it's a race not to be accurate, but a race to be first with news. So it
Sadly,
doesn't always have to hold all the facts. So until we know, until it's all proven, it's really hard to
you got to
speculate.
get them clicks.
Exactly.
It's all about the clicks, man.
What clickbaity title shall we give our news thing this week? But anyway, so the next one, sticking with Vince McMahon, and interesting take. I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this. So, as we know, that Netflix were pulling together a Vince McMahon docuseries. Now, according to F4W Online's Denise Salcedo, she has revealed that it appears that the planned Netflix docuseries has been cancelled following the recent report from the Wall Street Journal. So it was also noted that apparently the project was already deep into post-production. Several talent interviews had already taken place months ago, and millions were already spent on the series, and now it's reportedly not going to see the light of day. Now, I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on this, because it's not like it was a glowing, puff piece for Vince McMahon and what an incredible person he was. It sounds like it's a docuseries. And don't get me wrong, Vince was heavily involved in the project, so I don't think it was like a full, all warts and all kind of docuseries, don't get me wrong. It was going to be kind of a little bit of a thread in there to talk about how he came from the trailer park and what he's gone on to become. But isn't this the kind of thing you would want to include in your documentary? Isn't this noteworthy news? Like, for them to kind of pull it at this point, I guess until we know how they were going to spin the docuseries, it's hard to know, isn't it? But you'd feel if it was going to be a true warts and all kind of series about Vince, that now with all the attention, not that it's positive attention, but all the attention on his name, it's something that they would have gone ahead with. What are your thoughts?
I mean, to me, like you say, it's hard to tell because we don't know what steer they would have on it, but to me, it kind of reeks of them going, we don't want fuck all to do with this. Like, there's no positive outcome, especially with wrestling fans. So they can either put it out and be very favourable with Vince and people will be pissed off, or they can lambast him and people will be pissed off. And I think maybe they've made the choice of going, you know what, fuck it, we're not getting involved.
Yeah, it's just weird because obviously they've been involved.
And let's be honest,
in a
Netflix cancelling something isn't weird.
Well,
like,
no,
that's what they do.
Lot, but they've also they've also come under a lot of flack. So, for example, like Ricky Gervais's recent stand-up and Dave Chappelle and people like that, which have caused a lot of offence, and they've decided to stay true to the comedians and keep them on the network, which has faced a lot of backlash. So it's, to your point, would this be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they just don't want anything to do with it, or because you would kind of assume that,
as much as they don't speak on like the controversies around Ricky and you've just said his name. What's the other guy's name?
Dave Chappelle.
Chappelle. They don't really speak on it, but like you say, they've kind of, they've not made any changes. I believe they've had staff walk out over it as well. And yeah, they're probably going to be acutely aware that they keep piling up controversy is not the best thing. So maybe it has been a strategical move, knowing that there's going to be controversy in one direction or another with this documentary. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting. And it seems like obviously a lot of money down the drain if they were so far into production as well. So
look, let's be honest, they don't mind throwing money down the drain. We've seen that. Yes. When they made an unnecessary amount of seasons of 13 Reasons Why. That could have ended after 2, probably. Could have ended after 1 if we're honest. Anyway,
yeah, first season was fantastic. The rest
cancelling shows that were doing really well and popular, like Santa Clarita Diet, for no reason. Just to name one off the top of my head. You go, well, who's there making these decisions? I don't know, but they don't mind pissing money up the wall. It's fine.
Indeed.
Or turning around to all of your subscribers and saying you're not allowed to share your password, and if we notice you sharing your password, we're gonna fucking get you. That's also it's a really good move from Netflix. Like, you got to appreciate the way they approach things.
I'm assuming it was worded that same way as well. We're gonna get you, like Mr.
And that was the email I had.
Your house.
Okay. Anyway, Carl, moving over to the next one. More like, this isn't like lighter news. It is, but it's not like, hey, this is fun. But it's, we're getting away from like assault and other such things. So this one, Carl, we're talking about Curtis Axel and Ariya Daivari. Now, we've actually reported on this in the past about them being involved in production, namely Curtis. I think we mentioned when he had been rehired by WWE, but in the production side rather than in ring sense. And it turns out and at a really odd time as well. That PW Insider actually reported that they've been relieved of their duties. But the reason it's an odd time is because it's made production significantly harder. Obviously, with Adam Pearce, I believe, recently pointed out that Jason Jordan, who again now works in the production side and actually oversees all producers, he wasn't at this Friday's SmackDown, and it may miss a few more, as he and his wife are expecting a baby. So Jason Jordan's not there for obvious reasons. They've now relieved those two of the duties. So they've lost 2 extra sets of hands, and basically the remaining people are just extremely overworked, and it just doesn't make sense why they've done that. So I don't know what you make of this, and for me, you probably kind of see it sort of evidently in the kind of randomness of the 2 shows this past week. But yeah, it just seems an odd choice at the moment. I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Ariya who appeared on AEW?
Yeah, well, so obviously
I'm not saying it was a consequence of, because Curtis didn't. So
No, so I mean, he did have a match for AEW. I think at the time we did kind of discuss maybe the writings on the wall that he's not going to be renewed there. So that's the reason why, and it seems like that's been the case. I think for for Curtis Axel, obviously like Joe, like he's my best mate, but obviously he's Kurt Hennig's son, isn't he? And it's a massive shame, knowing the love and affinity I have for Mr. Perfect himself, to see that his son obviously didn't really manage to succeed on the main roster, and now unfortunately he's not going to be with the company even in a producer role either, which is just a massive shame. So yeah, interesting that they've now decided to release them when they're already like a couple of pair of hands when it comes to producing the matches and stuff. So
do you think this is because it seems that the timing seems to be sort of around the same time that obviously with Johnny Aces had to disappear for a little bit as well, and Pritchard's took over even more, filling in for Johnny Ace. Do you think Pritchard overseeing everything has been sort of connected to the change in production? Because I think as I understand it, they've been relieved of their duties and more work's been put on existing producers who are working on both shows, so the pressure's sort of mounted up for them. But do you think that's because that's like they're Pritchard's guys? Speculative, albeit, but
I think from a creative standpoint, so Vince is still very much at the helm of that, regardless of the controversies that he's involved in at the moment. But in terms of the actual producers, like obviously their main role and responsibility is working with the talent to put their matches together. So I think really from like a storyline standpoint, I don't think this will be too impacted. But in terms of how the matches come across and the presentation of the show and things like that, that's where we'll probably notice the main differences. And it has been a little bit higgledy-piggledy in terms of the bookings and the choices and stuff at the moment. So maybe Pritchard and could be responsible for that, but it's ultimately still Vince as well. So yeah, it's a strange one.
It is indeed. So it remains to be seen whether WWE typically it's never it's like totally done, isn't it? So we don't know whether either of them are going to be picked up again in the future. But certainly the stance at the moment is, as I say, neither of them are in that role.
Indeed. So the next one is quite a hot topic at the moment. So there was an incident which took place, Anthony, at a recent live event this past weekend. So Natalya was facing Liv Morgan, obviously the new women's SmackDown champion, and a fan had videoed the end of the match, which essentially saw Liv hitting a finisher on Natalya, and which she then rolled up Natty and got the win. Immediately after basically the referee counted to 3, Natty kind of jumped straight back up and ultimately no-sold the finisher and was kind of pointing a finger very angrily and almost like scolding Liz. Looked like she was having some really kind of choice words with her before she just rolled out of the ring and just stormed off. Now, a lot of people were kind of like, well, what's happened there? Liv must have done something to annoy her in the match, or maybe Liv no-sold one of Natty's moves or something. Like, no one could really understand. Now, Uncle Dave has chimed in, as he does, and basically he has said, surprisingly, that it had nothing to do with Liv Morgan at all. He said that the SmackDown Women's Champion and Natalya are both getting heat over the confusing moment. He knows Natalya's getting heat, and he thinks Liv's been getting heat over it too. He said Meltzer said Natalya was mad, but the incident didn't stem from any sort of bad blood between the two women. Though he admitted after watching the clip that that's the conclusion you would have come to. Now, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like, if you watch the clip, she's very clearly pissed off with Liv Morgan, and she's shouting at her, wagging her finger in her face, and basically no sells her finish and gets the fuck out of her, right? So I don't really get where this has come from Dave. But yeah, he's basically said that, unsurprisingly, he's uncertain of what the situation was between the two women, but unequivocally states that there was a situation. It's, you know what I mean? Like, for fuck's sake, Dave. It's the most, you know what I mean? It's the same old shtick, isn't it? Every time he's like, no, she definitely didn't have a problem with Liv, but she was definitely had a problem. And yeah, I don't really know what the situation was, but yeah, there was definitely a problem. Like, no shit, Sherlock. How can you know what I mean? Jesus. So
I love it. That's some class journalism right there.
Basically, we're none the wiser, but anyone with a
So Dave watched the clip as well, is all we know.
yeah, and I don't know how anyone with eyes that watched that clip can't kind of draw the same conclusion that Natty was very visibly pissed off with Liv, no sold her finish, and got the fuck out of there really angrily.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not cool to no sell the finish though.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I don't know what pissed you off, but you like, come on, we don't no sell. You're not Hulk Hogan. You're not allowed to no sell.
But yeah, it's very uncharacteristic of Natty as well. Like, don't get me wrong, she is playing a heel at the moment, but she's always been known as like a consummate professional.
It's just the thing that puzzled me, because you go because my initial thought was, is this like testing out some sort of heely thing with Natty? But you go, well, it's not a heel thing to no sell it. Like, that just points out that it is, like, I hate using the term because it's that, the bumps are still real, but it's pointing out that it's fake, isn't it? When you no sell, I don't see why that'd be part of a story. So it does make you think. But it does make you think, like, she must have genuinely been pissed off to no sell, because that surely wouldn't be part of the story.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
It doesn't make any sense to me at all, really. But you could tell she was very visibly angry, and she was directing that anger towards Liv. So nobody really seems to understand the reason why. I don't know why Dave is basically saying it had nothing to do with Liv Morgan at all. Like, really? Well, why is she pointing at her and yelling then, Dave? Right? So
nothing to do with it at all.
Absolutely nothing.
She just needs to live and let live.
I love it.
Was it a time for that joke? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm doing it anyway. So, Carl, next one, right? And this has been a bit of a fucking roller coaster, to be honest. Like, I don't even know how to feel about it myself. So, Jordynne Grace put out a tweet quite recently. I'm going to tell you what the tweet said, Carl. She said, "This is going to be the coldest take I ever tweet on this app. I already know you're going to be mad. I don't think Benoit could 100% hang with most of the present-day best wrestlers. He would not be able to remember matches. Yeah. Also, may he burn in hell. Amen." Right? Now, this is cut Twitter right in fucking half. Maybe not half. Maybe 60-40. I don't know. But so many people, like, quite rightly, like, there's not... I'm going to make it clear, Carl, at no point in my comments, or I'm sure your comments, are we going to say that what Benoit did wasn't totally fucking fucked up, right? But since her tweet, people have been against her and they've been for her. People obviously saying, Benoit, what he did was horrendous. He's a monster. Yeah, may he burn in hell, that kind of thing. But Jordynne, since this, has she's spoken to people who were upset by this, and I'm not talking fans. She's spoken with Chris Jericho, Chavo Guerrero, and even David Benoit himself. And she's, since that initial tweet and since that comment, she put out a statement where she's basically realized sort of how that can affect, and it's not really about the Benoit thing itself. It's about the fact that, that has an impact on the likes of David and so on like that. So she put out a statement from that. She made it clear that she has spoken directly with David Benoit. She put up a clip of the two of them on a I assume an Instagram chat, and from that she basically pointed out that she's now pledged 5,000 of her own money towards a CTE fundraiser, for concussion trauma, for those who weren't sure. And she's helping towards a $20,000 target. But again, this has led to controversy because it's like some people are like commending her for considering her actions, her words, should I say, and making that commitment to a charity. That, by the way, it's not a Benoit charity; it's a charity for a really good cause. But then again, the fandom are firing back, like, you shouldn't have to go back on what you said. It wasn't wrong what you said. You shouldn't have to spend your own money as what is it? Not penance. That's not the right word. Anyway. And sort of thinking, but it's like ultimately she's given money to a charitable cause, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the money side. So many people who are sudden experts in all this sort of stuff saying, what he did wasn't because of the concussions, it was premeditated, he's a monster. And it's like, maybe, but she still chose to give money to a charity and speak to the people who were close to Benoit, who, that they're not condoning what he did, but that's not the Benoit they knew, and it's still kind of difficult to read those sort of tweets. And then you got people coming at it from a wrestling level, saying how dare she say that Benoit wasn't a wrestler who could hang with people today, he was one of the best wrestlers in the world, etc. And it's like, well, kind of, yeah, he was a really good wrestler, but that's where it becomes her opinion anyway. So it's been a really kind of crazy situation overall, and it doesn't end there, Carl. We had Chavo responded to Jordynne Grace, giving her credit for being a big person, owning up to things, and said that she has his respect, and then he's also shared the statement she put out, and obviously the goal to raise money towards this charity. But then we had Sandra Toffoloni, I hope I pronounced that right, who is the sister of Benoit's wife, Nancy, who sadly was, and she's put out a tweet in response saying, "It's weird, I didn't hear my phone ring. I really thought the work I've been putting in for 15 years trying to keep and elevate my sister's legacy hadn't gone unnoticed. Guess my family is an afterthought again. I don't even know where to fucking start. #heartbroken." So, again, she's sort of understood the pain and the that side of it that she's caused for the people who are close to Benoit, and now obviously we get this response, and Sandra's more than entitled to her feelings, but it's everything seems to have just been controversial, even trying to sort of repair that has then ended up being controversial. So it's just been an absolute I don't know how to phrase it, an absolute nightmare for her, I suppose. I mean, talk about regretting putting a tweet out, Yeah.
I mean, that's where it all starts for me. And don't get me wrong, I do like Jordynne Grace. I think, I respect a lot of the stuff that she's done, and the stuff that, she puts out there for the most part. But this is the biggest problem with social media, and it is that even the way she started, this is going to be my coldest take ever. It's like people just have this idea of I'm just going to put this out there and everyone's going to want to, going to see what I say and react to it. She knew there was going to be a reaction to it by the way she even phrased it. There needs to be some kind of rule or restriction in social media where everything you post doesn't get posted for 30 minutes and you can basically cancel
a
that
cool off period. You
have
a chance to think about this.
Because people, it's so easy to just go, right, phone, I'm going to do this, boom, right? Phone's gone down and gone, I probably shouldn't have sent that. Look at it. Oh, shit, what have I done? You can't go back on it. So, yeah, it's a very just silly, narrow-minded tweet to tweet in the first place, let's be honest. But, yeah, it's obviously caused a massive whirlwind. And, yeah, not every thought needs to be shared with the world on social media. Even if she still was to maintain that, it's her opinion. She can keep it to herself, but does she have to then go and put this out there to go, let's see how people react to this then? Because in this case, it's not good. So yeah, it could have done very serious damage to her, career, and her standing with the likes of Impact and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just a friendly reminder from A2theK: think before you tweet, think before you post.
The thing is, because there's so many people arguing different elements of this, but I don't it's not like David Benoit's me prime example on this. Like, regardless of how right or wrong you are about Benoit, like, that's still a guy's dad.
Yeah.
You know, it's still not gonna, even if you like, he's not gonna, like, no one, like, David Benoit's never gonna look at a tweet like that and go, yeah, she's right, he was a monster, because it's his dad. At the end of the day, you know, regardless of what the public think of him, and you know, like, people trying to defend it with the concussion elements and all that kind of stuff, like, it's still not palatable for him, is it? It's still not something he's going to be able to. You're not going to look at that and feel anything other than bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether he agrees with her comments or not. Like, it's his dad, and you know, it's not nice to read like "May he burn in hell" or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I get it. Like, it was absolutely horrendous what he did, but for me, this was more about, you know, she realizes that she's hurt, like, the likes of David and people who cared about the man, and it's less about the incident in that sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and people can have their opinion on it, but I respect the fact that she's gone, you know what, yeah, that couldn't have been easy for him to read, so she's reached out to him and they've had that conversation. You know what I mean? Regardless of what anyone's opinion is on Benoit, she's realized that, like, no, that's not cool. That was his dad.
Yeah. It's one of them as well. Like, hopefully this isn't just like damage control. Hopefully she's gone, wow, the things I post can actually really actually affect and offend people. So maybe I should think about that before I do that again in the future. So, you know, time remains to be seen, doesn't it? Let's hope time will tell. But yeah, fair play to her. She owned it, owned up to it, tried to kind of go, you know, make amends. So yeah, hopefully she's learned from it. It's the main thing.
And again, you know, the charity is still a tremendously good cause.
Indeed.
So but I know people have argued like she shouldn't have had to give any money, and yeah, she shouldn't have. I mean, and she probably didn't have to. She could have, like, had that conversation and gave that apology, and that would have been that. You know, to David, by the way, for those who think that she shouldn't apologize. But you know, for me, it's like, well, there's still money going to a good cause, like, so we shouldn't. No one should be mad about that.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
So the next one to talk about is we had Killer Kross and basically Scarlett. I think it was just Killer Kross who was speaking on the Wrestling Show. Basically reaffirmed comments he'd made from a few months ago now about whether or not he and Scarlett will ever go back to Impact. He was quoted as saying, "Respectfully, neither of us will be returning. For the record, many of our friends work there. We are very happy for the success that they are finding. We've had many people in our corner for years that still work for that company. We have never ever been on record to say anything derogatory or negative about any company we've ever worked for. That's beneath us. There are a lot of people involved with companies per se, and when you have a problem with one or two or three people, it's not necessarily a systemic issue. We're happy for everybody's success, and we don't live in that place anymore. We are always moving forward. We leave it behind us, and that's really all I have to say about it." So, essentially, a very firm no, they're not going back, but at the same time, you know, there's no kind of no hard feelings, no bridges burned. It's just not where they want to be right now.
I kind of get that. Like, you got to respect where they're coming from with it. Like you say, they're not there to, like, talk shit, but at the same time, that's not the place for them anymore. And you get that. Like, sometimes, like, as I know other people have done it, like Cody being the most recent example, but sometimes, like, going back isn't, like, no one ever considers it the right move, because it's not your home anymore. It's like Cody will have gone back to WWE. It's a totally different place to the WWE left, undoubtedly, you know. And that's the thing. Like, you can go back, but it like, Impact won't be what it was when they were there. It'll be totally different, and that could be good or bad. But I respect the fact that they're not trying to talk shit. They're just like, that's not them. That's not what they're gonna do. You know,
it seems like they're just open to exploring some new stuff. Basically, that they've done Impact previously.
Open to exploring new stuff.
Interesting. Sign me up. Anyway, next one.
But Carl, before we move on, like, do you think we may be seeing them other places? Obviously, there's wrestling still on the cards for them. Do you think we may see, like, an NWA, an MLW, an AEW? Let's speculate.
They've definitely got something, haven't they?
They told us where they ain't going.
Well, exactly. It's one of them. I can't see them in AEW soon. I do think Tony Khan's a big fan of them, but I think it's just this is
I
maybe
think.
one too far with the amount of talent they've got at the moment. So
Oh yeah, I mean, it's certainly like the roster's like full at the minute, isn't it? So I don't think they really need to take them on. All due respect to Killer Cross, it must be a bit strange for them because I think quite recently, correct me if I'm wrong, he made some comments saying that he thought they would both be WWE lifers once they were there.
exactly, yeah.
And so it must be strange that like everything happened the way it did and they ended up released, and it's like, what do you do next? I believe he was involved with Control Your Narrative for a bit as well. I don't know if he still is, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what they've been up to, but it's one of those things like you work your whole career to get to WWE. When you've got a guy going to bat for you like Triple H, you probably think, do you know what? I'm set now. Like this, I've worked all this time. I've got here. I've got one of the top guys. Really kind of one of my top supporters. I'm going to be here forever. And then all of a sudden, a couple of tiny changes, and that's it. He's out. So
probably one of the biggest puzzles for me with WWE. Like he was over as fuck with what he was doing in NXT, with Scarlett being his mouthpiece and him just being that intimidating figure in NXT, and then they changed everything on the main roster, and then go, "It's not working. Bye." And you're like, "What the fuck?" They didn't even give the NXT style a chance.
No.
What he was in NXT with Scarlett.
He was the one that inspired that Get Push Change Release shirt from us, because that was it. It was like, get him, pushed him to the moon in NXT, changed him when he got to the main roster, and was like, yeah, don't like this release. I think what it is Vince probably doesn't like, and it's the same with other promotions. Typically, he doesn't like people coming in who are already ready-made and like they've made their name off their own back elsewhere. Now, he's also the same for whatever reason with NXT, because he hasn't made them. He gets into the main roster and goes, well, here's what I would do with him. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, here's what I would do with him. Here's a fucking stupid mask. It's like, what?
Exactly. So,
well, it makes you worry though. Like people are so big on like Braun Breaker, for instance, at the minute. But are we going to get the same Braun Breaker, or is he going to get totally massively changed on the main roster? Because that just seems to be what they do, and I don't understand when it's something that is working, why they make such dramatic changes. Even if you go, well, okay, it's not working on the main roster, let's make some changes, but they don't even give it a chance. It's crazy to me.
Madness.
It's crazy to me. Anyway, it is me next, isn't it? It's me next. It's definitely me next, right? So, Carl, get this, right? Mick Foley recently put out... Well, no, did he? It wasn't him, I don't think. PWTs put out. Why are the Mick Foley t-shirts leaving PWTs? Found out why directly from Mick and shop his store before the 31st. Sorry, for those who are confused why I'm struggling, we do the date the other way around. So I was like, the 7th of the 31st? What the fuck? So 31st of July. And it turns out Mick Foley has now signed a new contract with WWE, Carl. So his PWT store will be going in favour of presumably a WWE store. And the contract he signed is a Legends contract, but it remains to be seen. What will this entail? Are we going to see a lot more of Mick on WWE? I presume so.
Maybe. I mean, it's interesting.
I'm also super curious.
He started his own pod, hasn't he? Foley's pod.
Well, you see, this is the thing. I'm super curious. He's doing his own pod. Is that going to be something that WWE want to absorb? Are they going to make it like a Broken Skulls kind of thing? Or is he still going to be able to do his own stuff? Like, we never know with these contracts, man.
Well, exactly. I think it's interesting now because you've got that many people on Legends contracts who are also still doing their own thing and going to their own signings and doing their own podcasts and things like that. So I'm not too sure how restrictive the Legends deals are these days. But
I mean, straight out the gate, you go, well, the Mick match can only be bought from WWE in future, so that's one restriction.
So there's that aspect, but I didn't even realise that he wasn't properly under WWE contract at all. Like I just assumed he still was because he's always so pro WWE. I feel like because he on everything, doesn't
he did make an appearance. When was his last appearance? It wasn't that long ago. Well, sorry, I think it was actually the last time was when the Fiend was around, so it probably was that long ago. I don't even know if that was technically contracted, but he was there on the Raw. What do they call it? That retro Raw night that they do, Legends night.
Because it's Legends, no?
And then the Fiend attacked everyone. So I don't.
But even not on main TV appearances though, even just like stuff on WWE Network and things like that, he's always involved in stuff that they produce content-wise, isn't he? So,
do you know what? More than most Legends, like when you consider like he's had more than one run of commissioner and stuff like that. He's been an on-screen talent more than once. he does tons of stuff in and around WWE quite a lot. It is surprising to learn that he wasn't contracted in some way, but you know, you get to a point, I suppose it's a pair appearance kind of deal. But for me, if they're making him sign a contract that prohibits his sort of merch sales and stuff like that, it makes you think that they are planning on doing something with him. Now, whether that's going to be network stuff or what, I don't know, but intriguing.
Yes. Speaking of intriguing, I'm going to talk to you about Captain Intrigue. Oh, wait, no. Captain Insano. That's what I mean.
He shows no mercy.
Yeah, interesting one, this. So, obviously, Paul Wight sat down with Wrestling Inc. And basically, he made it abundantly clear that he plans on wrestling multiple matches for AEW. He was quoted as saying, "My whole reason for coming to AEW was to work on commentary and to compete more." The next time Wight steps foot inside an AEW ring, he'd most likely be seen as Captain Insano, the fictional pro wrestler, obviously, that was portrayed in the 1998 Adam Sandler movie, The Waterboy. So this has been kind of alluded to in earlier interviews, but he's announced that basically they have secured the rights for the character on AEW TV. So he's quoted as saying, "Heel Captain Insano be back. The guy who wrote The Waterboy has approved. Tony Khan and I have secured the rights to Captain Insano. There's already an outfit made, the whole 9 yards. We're doing a lot of prep work,
good. Like,
and this will be my last hurrah, so to speak."
I think a lot of people thought that the whole Captain Insano, because it was a while ago they got the rights to. I think a lot of people assumed it was for the video game, the AEW video game, but to find out that he's actually going to use that gimmick is interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm kind of tempted to message Paul and ask if he needs a Waterboy.
Yeah. It's also interesting, like, are they going to do like a bit with Sandler as well? Like, are they going to start kind of getting more entertainment eyes on what it is they're doing? Because obviously that would be huge for AEW.
To get Sandler in with a bit of a skit, it'd be quite fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I like that Tony doesn't shy away from like licensing certain things when it makes sense, and this is probably one of the first times of them kind of licensing a character in this way. But yeah, Paul Wight was basically quoted as saying, "Let's be honest, I don't think this character is going to be a killer going out there and trying to beat up Jon Moxley for the world title. At this point, I think this character is just to have fun. We'll see how it goes, but for me right now, it's a chance to have fun with the character and be a bright spot on the show. We'll see how I'm feeling and see how everybody takes off with it."
Honestly, this is pure speculation because you don't know what Sandler's up to these days, and he's rich enough to not have to care about AEW. But like, if Captain Insano is now in the real world in AEW, then surely Adam Sandler's character Bobby could make an appearance, right?
Imagine that. How cool would that
surely
be? The Waterboy shows up in the middle of one of his matches.
Because let's face it, get the nostalgic pop because people haven't seen Bobby since the Waterboy. Well, so it kind of makes sense. Not makes sense. It kind of be great as a nostalgic pop.
It also just writes itself, Captain Insano struggling in the ring, and then he comes out and goes,
"That's all you need, isn't it?
High quality H2O." Gives him a bottle of water, gets up, wins the match.
I don't care how many people are criticise it. I would fucking love that if that's literally it's just that quick nostalgic pop that he actually does fulfill his sort of dream, as it were, in the film of being his Waterboy. That would be funny as fuck to me.
Yeah, finally, all them years later. So
make it happen.
Fair play. And it's a very exciting piece of news. I don't know how it's going to fit in or when it's going to happen, but seems like it's definitely going to happen if they've got the rights and they've got everything made and just getting it all together. So interesting. But that's it. That's the news this week, Anthony.
And that's the news.
A lot of highs, a lot of lows, but a lot of news. You can't argue with that. And yeah, obviously we've just done This Week in Wrestling, so we gave our thoughts on, WWE with Brock coming back and Roman coming back and Dolph coming back and everybody coming back. And we also talked about AEW in terms of what's happened last week, but also what our thoughts are on tonight and next week's Fighter Fest shows as well. And also make sure you stay tuned for our What If segment, which is what if Vince McMahon leaves WWE? So make sure you check that out as well. And until next time, here is the one and only Georgia Smith to say goodbye.
Hey guys, it's Georgia Smith here, and you've heard me on A2theK. These guys are awesome. Check it out. A2theK.
A2theK.